everyone, John here from the Four Brewers podcast, and I am not back with another beer today. I am in fact here to give you a tour of my studio. This is something that people have asked about quite a bit, not only on YouTube, but in comments for the podcast and in me running into people. I have a pretty decent studio for recording podcasts and for doing video, and also for live streaming games and stuff like that. So there's a lot going on in here. I don't know if I'll hit on everything, but we're gonna give it a shot. So let's cut to the other camera and begin this tour. Okay, so we're here in the hallway. This is the entrance to the office. This is a picture of a cow, and that's a cat down there. This is a poster I have with all different kinds of beer styles. This is my cool office placard thing from the show The Office. So let's go into the studio. So as we walk in, the first thing you see are these pictures right here. I'm a big fan of that company Mix Tiles that makes these. These are really cool. They're like 8x8 prints. They're pretty cheap too. I think they're like 10 bucks each. And this is the studio. This is an overall view of everything that's going on in here. This is where I sit and do everything. You get like a nice overall view of what's going on here. So let's close the door so the animals don't come in. All right, so the first thing we've got here is this super nifty Bottle Logic faux neon sign that we picked up. Got this really cool brewery Chocolate Rain tin. It's the label for Chocolate Rain, one of my favorite beers. It's an awesome beer. We've got this green screen right here. We've got lights. You see there's a light there, there's a light there, there's a light there. These lights aren't on all the time. These are just for when I'm recording or taking photos and I need a lot of light. Everything in here is connected to the Amazon Echo, so I can say, Alexa, turn the recording lights off. Those lights go off, and then I can say, Alexa, turn the studio lights off. And the studio lights go off. So as you can see, I have a green screen right here. This is what I use primarily when I stream on Twitch. I dabble with game streaming. I'm not really good at it, but that's what it's there for. And it seems to have a permanent place here. It's actually adjustable. It's on these chains right here that hang down. And this is like a rod that goes through, and these clips are for clipping things like this big roll on here. If I want to do that, it's 9 feet tall or 9 feet wide. So I could extend this out 9 feet, hang that on there and use it for like a backdrop if I want to take portraits of people or whatever. I also have like a smaller version of this that I use, and I just kind of clamp on top of the green screen if I want to have like a white background for photo shoots and whatnot. Works really well. Having all this light here makes everything nice, and they're modular, so I can move everything around, and it's really cool. And I can get a lot of flexibility out of my photos and stuff. These are hats. This is our bottle cap art that was made by Natalie DeNicholas. These are all different bottle caps that we have opened from beers that we've opened on the show. And some are also beers that I've opened personally, which are a lot. Again, more mixed tiles. This is where I sit. This is my background for the show. And I think they look really cool. Like I said, I think they're 9 bucks each. The first two are like 13 or 20. I'm not sure, but they're a really good deal. They look really nice. They're like double stick tape on the back, and you can move them around too if you want. So I think that looks really cool. It makes the closet look a little better. It's not as white and barren. And speaking of the closet, this is where I have a lot of beer. That's a whole other situation. But yeah, that's where I keep all of my beer. Closet is full of beer. So coming around, let's just go this way. So this is our 55-inch TV that's mounted to the wall. This is all brewery beer. Yes, there's actually beer in there that I haven't opened yet. Sound-Deadening Panels on this wall. This is a pretty big wall, and a lot of sound was bouncing off of it when we would podcast in here. So those are actually mounted to this board with holes in it. So I mounted that board to the wall, And you can see the glue's kind of coming off there on that one. But I mounted that board to the wall with screws and then glued everything to that board. So when I want to take this down, the walls aren't ruined with glue. They're just holes in the walls that I have to patch, and it's nice and easy. So coming around here, we use this during the podcast to show information, to show the live chat, the Discord chat while we're podcasting, and also show the beers that we're drinking for guests on the show, because as you know, we now have guests that sit in what used to be Matt's chair, which is that chair right there. So them sitting there allows them to see the screen, and they can see exactly what's going on. You also notice that we have other screens in here. There's a lot of screens in here, actually. That one iMac over there with the Four Brewers sign on top of it, that also shows the Discord chat for people that are looking that way. We've got this screen right here that also shows the Discord chat. And then we've got this little guy right here that I look at to control the video cameras for the live stream. So the live stream runs off of this Mac Pro down here. It's a 2008 Mac Pro that is still pretty powerful for what it is. I use it basically just for the live stream. I got it from a friend of mine, Brian Hardiman, and I replaced some stuff in it. Spent about $500 putting a solid state disc in there, and a new video card, and a USB 3.1 card so I could plug all of these cameras in. And that's what runs the live stream. So that computer is hooked up to that monitor and this monitor right here. So I see everything in this monitor right here while we're recording, and I can see what's going on with the live stream and all the cameras and everything else. So it's really, really nice. These are the cameras. We have the Logitech C920s mounted in different configurations. Like, these are cool because they have like the quarter 20 bolt mounts. So I was able to put a whole bunch of these cameras really close to one another, and everybody that's on the show basically has a camera on them, which is really nice. But the cool thing is they're all in this one little island where all the microphones are mounted. These mic stands are custom mic stands. I made them myself. I'm trying to get a good shot here. This one's probably better. It's basically some black pipe with a threaded flange going up to some 3/16 steel that I drilled a hole in. That's where all the cables come through for the mics and the cameras. And everything's just kind of clamped on there, as you can see. It's really nice. And actually the bolts that hold that flange to the plate also serve as the mounts for the cameras. So as you can see, the cameras are all on those mounts, and we have different bottle openers here, and this is for opening corks and stuff. So yeah, the mics are all on there, are all mounted on there, and the cameras are mounted on there. It's really nice and clean and out of the way. It leaves the table nice and open for actually, you know, drinking beer and podcasting and doing whatever. Headphones, they're super cheap. These are Sennheiser HD 201s. I think they're $20 each. They get the job done. They're not the greatest headphones, but like I said, they get the job done. We use heel mics. These are PR30s, I believe. This is actually the, yeah, I think, no, that's the regular one. That's the PR30 that's black and red, which looks really cool, but no one ever sees it because we have these windscreens on top of them. This is a shorter one. This is the PR31BW, and this is actually for using like in a drum kit in a tighter situation. It's a shorter mic. It's squattier. It's not as long as the regular PR30. There's no real reason why I got this other than it was the only one available at the time and I needed the mic. It's the same exact mic as the PR30, so I picked it up and it works. The only mic that's different here is my mic, which is a heel PR40. This mic is the more popular mic with podcasters. Tom Merritt uses a PR40. It's a really good mic. Like overall, it's a top firing mic, so you speak into it that way. It's really nice. As far as guest mics go, these are super cheap. I think these are Behringer mics. Like they're just, I think it was $10 each for these mics. They come in a pack of 3 for $30. and they actually sound pretty good. And these are the mics we use on the road. They're super portable. You know, $10 each for that compared to, I think this is a $400 mic, $350 mic. I'm not taking this mic on the road. Like, I'm not going to risk it. So that's what's going on with the mics here. We've got 6 mics on the table. Again, you can see this is where we podcast from. Greg sits there. That's the guest chairs right there. Jason usually sits there. And I sit over there in the back. This chair is all ratty and old. This is a chair I've had for, gosh, since 2000 probably, maybe 1999. It's fine, and it still works, and it's got some miles on it. I've done a lot of stuff in that chair as far as creating stuff goes. So we're going to stick with the podcast stuff for now. So this is Command Central, basically, for the audio for the podcast. There is a lot going on here, and I can't really go through it all. Basically, we'll start with these. The two items that are the first rack and the second rack. Actually, the first rack is a Furman power supply. So it's a power conditioner. It makes sure that all of your voltage coming through is the same and there's no noise, and it works very well. It's probably the most important thing I have next to the microphones here, because without this, especially when you're lugging this thing around to different places, you don't know what their 120 volts is like, if it's super clean or if their outlets are grounded properly. And this helps quite a bit with making sure all of that's good. There's not really much going on the front there. All the action's on the back. There's, I think, 8 plugs on the back. And yeah, it's really nice. There's also a plug on the front here, and on this front plug, this is kind of sloppy, but I've got this other plug with other plugs in it for, I think those are both for HDMI splitters, so I can do different things. It's a whole involved thing. Below the power conditioner, there's 2 compressors. Those are Behringer compressors. I'm not sure what the model is on though. Oh, they're Multicom Pro XL. There's 4 channels on each of those compressors. So we have 6 mics. We're using 6 of those channels. They're compressors, and they're also noise gates. This is probably the most important thing next to the power conditioner and the mics in the studio. What a noise gate does is basically it shuts off the mic at a certain threshold if no one's speaking into it. So you set the threshold, someone speaks, and when they stop, it cuts off the audio from that mic. So if they're like breathing into the mic or, you know, whispering or something, it won't pick that stuff up. And that really helps with cleaning up your audio, especially in post, the way I do it, because you don't have to cut out all of that noise. And that noise, when you multiply it times 6 microphones, it really adds up and makes for a lot of noise in your final product. So for me, having these saves a lot in post-production, and it just makes the experience better in the live situation through the headphones. Like, it's nice and quiet, and it's basically what you hear is what you get. The compressors on there, they're pretty good. Compressors are basically to keep everything level. So if someone's speaking softly, it kind of amplifies the gain. And if someone's speaking loudly, it cuts the gain. So it makes the signal nice and flat, basically. And they work pretty well. I really like them. The thing on the bottom there, that's our headphone amplifier. It's a Behringer also. Everything I have is Behringer because it's cheap and it works pretty well. So that's for headphones, basically. So all the headphones come out of there. Below there, we have this little mixer down there in the lower left. That is only for sending audio to a computer. So it's got a USB out, and you can take that USB out and send it to a computer. Behringer now makes mixers, like bigger mixers that have USB out. I just didn't buy that mixer. So we have that little guy, and that's what it's for. There's some Snapchat spectacles down there, which are not related to the podcast at all. We've got this Anchor. I think it's a 10-bay USB 2.1 or 2.0 port. That's just nice to have for having all those different USB outlets. We've got an Amazon Echo. That's where that little guy lives right there. Those are some external hard drives. Next to the Echo, some Western Digital, my Passport Ultras, USB 3.1. Shout out to Western Digital. That's pretty much it for the bottom part of the rack. So coming up to the top part, you see we have my computer here. This is a 2015 or 2014 MacBook Pro. I love it. It works great. I still have no reason to upgrade to a newer MacBook Pro because this still works fantastic. I love it. Next to that is a Zoom H6 recorder. This is what I'm recording on right now, actually. I'm recording with a Sennheiser G3 wireless lavalier mic setup, so that's the receiver right there. It's plugged in, and then I'm wearing the microphone, obviously. This is what we use to record the podcast, so that blue XLR cable right there, that is my microphone right now. If I want to switch to the audio coming off of the board, which is underneath this black thing, I just switch to the first channel and turn off the second channel, and that's what we record with. When we go on the road, this is what we record everything with. This has 4 channels built in, but you can put another thing on the top here to give you 2 more channels and record 6 channels. So this is what I record on the road with. The bad thing about recording with this, it works very well, but there's a lot of post audio cleanup that you got to do because it records every track to its own track. So every microphone has its own WAV file, which is really nice because you can clean up each individual WAV file and then sync everything up in the end. So Zoom H6, I'm a big fan of. It's a great, great recorder. We're still sticking with the podcast stuff, so we'll come back to all of this stuff here that's going on to the computer. So this whole thing lifts up. This is actually meant for like DJs who want to have stuff on top of their mixer. I use it to put my computer there because on the road, it's nice to have that there because everything is right there and ready to go. So down here is our actual mixer for the podcast. This is a Behringer UB222 FX Pro mixer. There was no real rhyme or reason for me getting this specific mixer other than it has 8 channels that all have inserts. What an insert is, it basically takes the audio from the microphone and before it hits the fader, which this is a fader, it sends the audio out to something and then back to the board, and then it goes through the fader and then it goes up through the channel, you know, to basically to the output. What I'm using that for is for the compressors down there. So it's taken the mic signal, sending it through the compressor does its thing to the signal and then sends it back to the board, and then that's what you hear on the board. So inserts are awesome for that. And the inserts are on the back, and you can't really see them, but this is where all the mics are plugged in. I have a XLR snake that everything gets plugged into. The snake is actually under the table, which is kind of a mess, but that's what it looks like under the table. Like, it's seriously a mess down there, but it works. The mics all get plugged into this little thing called a little bro. It's a little snake that has 8 XLR ports on it, and everything comes through the cables you see down there up to the board here. So there's a lot of stuff going on with this board. I have externals that go or come from like this, you know, come from the MacBook that go into the board that then go into the live stream if I want, or into the recording. This sends audio out to speakers. There's a sound bar back there behind that monitor. You can kind of see right there. There's a lot going on here, and I've spent a lot of time making this work the way it needs to work. Everything is in this Rode case right there. You can see it takes about 10 minutes to break everything down. The cables come out nice and easily, even though it looks like kind of a mess. It's actually pretty well organized. There's 2 snakes. There's a snake for the microphones, and then there's a snake for the headphones that you can't really see. It's back there though. The idea behind this box was to keep it portable, and it is portable, but I don't really take it out anymore because it is kind of a pain in the ass, and it's easier just to use. The Zoom is everything in this little tiny compact package. It's not as complex, but it still works great. So that's pretty much it for the live streaming setup. We talked about the monitors, microphones, yeah, that's pretty much it. While I'm streaming, I have my iPad set up right below the monitor right here. And then I have this mouse pad with a mouse on it, a Logitech mouse that I can control that iMac with over there, and also the Mac Pro down there. I use one keyboard, one mouse, and I toggle between the two computers as I need to toggle between them. That way, all I have on the desk is a keyboard, my iPad, and a mouse. And that keyboard also works with the iPad because it's got 3 different Bluetooth configurations on it. So I'm trying to think of anything I missed for the streaming podcast, at least the audio podcast. That's pretty much it. Briefly talking about our live stream or my Twitch stream setup. I'm using a Canon T2i. This is my first Canon camera that I ever bought. I used it for everything we did with New Brew Thursday. It still works. I have Magic Lantern software installed on it to basically get rid of all the menus and stuff on the screen so I can use it as a streaming camera. It's going out through HDMI on the side right here, as you can see. And then that goes down to Ultra Studio mini recorder from Blackmagic. Is it Blackmagic? Yeah, Blackmagic. You can see it down there. It's tucked in back there. So it goes into there and then comes out through Lightning to the MacBook Pro right here. So this camera, like I said, that's my live streaming camera for Twitch. You can see it points this way at the green screen right there. So while I'm playing, that camera right there isn't there. It's got a 50mm lens on it, so it basically focuses just on my head, and the green screen's in the perfect spot. Works great. So that's what I use for a camera for Twitch. The computer, the MacBook Pro, when I am playing, sits down here like this, and obviously it's opened up like that. So while I'm playing, I can play on this screen right here and then watch the live chat right here, and it works really, really well. I have a Nintendo Switch that is hooked up to that monitor. I have an Xbox One S also hooked up, and everything is switchable. This is an HDMI switch. This is also an HDMI switch. Everything is switchable on the fly, so if I want to stream, I can switch it on that HDMI switch and that HDMI switch. It then sends all the video to this monitor, and then it also sends it to the MacBook Pro through a cam link, which is right here. This gets plugged in right here like that. So that's a USB 3.1 cam link, and that's for the video from the console. And then I use Wirecast to do the live stream. So I can set everything up right here. It works fantastic. This computer is just powerful enough to stream at 1080p 30 frames per second or 720p 60 frames per second. Usually it's 720p 60. And it works really well for my setup anyway. It's an all Mac setup. And the thing with my studio is I'm working with what I have. And while I've acquired a lot of this over the years and have spent money, I'm not spending money every other year to upgrade everything. I'm using everything that I buy, which is really cool. So again, if I want to stream or just play on that monitor right there, there's HDMI switches for that. Also, if I want to play on the 55-inch, again, it's all HDMI switches. I just hit the switch and I can play sitting here looking at that TV, which is really, really nice. And that TV is not an expensive TV. It's like a Spectre TV. I think it was 220 bucks or something on Amazon, super cheap, but gets the job done. So in a nutshell, that's my live streaming setup for Twitch. Moving on for what I do for the beer videos. So that's where this camera comes into play. This is a Canon 70D. The cool thing about this camera, this is the famous Casey Neistat vlogging camera. It's got autofocus during video, which is really nice. This is a Canon EFS 10 to 22mm lens. It's not the greatest wide angle lens, but it's pretty nice. It gives you a nice wide focal length. It goes, like I said, from 10 to 22, and it works really nice. So this camera is looking at me while I do my video. That's kind of the perspective you get during the video. It's got the articulating screen on it so I can see what's going on. Really nice, really simple. Using the Rode video mic on top to capture the overall audio. And then again, I use a Sennheiser wireless lavalier mic for everything else. So that's what I use for recording the beer videos. It's pretty simple and straight up and works well. This doesn't sit here all the time. When I'm done, I take this stand, that tripod, and I take it over here, put it next to this tripod, because this area I basically don't go into a whole lot. They get moved when we record the podcast, but otherwise the cameras just sit here. So they're out of the way, and that's how they're stored. They both sit there. That's my Canon 5D Mark III. Right now it's got the 40mm pancake lens on it. That's what I use mostly for taking photos of beers for the show and whatnot. And everything's there. I just pick it up, grab it, and I'm good to go. Speaking of which, these are beers from our last recording session. This is where I take all the photos for the chapters and for the blog posts about the beers that we're drinking. And basically I take the camera, I set it up right here, and that's where I shoot all of the beers right there. It's a nice clean black background. Got a little bit of texture there with the noise dampening foam, and it works really well. So that's pretty much it for the technical stuff in the studio. Again, it's a pretty cool setup. I really like what I've done with everything. This is all beer that I've just acquired. I have beer everywhere. It's a problem. But this is our beer fridge. Oh yeah, we have a beer fridge too. We've got a Google Home. This is my Superman cup full of different bottle openers and scissors and a screwdriver. Again, lights are right here. That's obvious. The beer fridge, I don't even know what's in there currently. Got some LA Works beers. Looks like we got some Hangar 24, some Boulevard, some Brewery. It's pretty typical. I should also say all of the computers here are hardwired for Ethernet. So I have an Ethernet switch underneath that table over there. That table is just a whole bunch of cables, and it's scary back there, but everything in here, the Xbox, the Switch, the Mac Pro, the iMac, even my MacBook Pro when I'm streaming, everything is Ethernet. There's no Wi-Fi other than the Wi-Fi for the Echo and the Google Home. So that's the studio in a nutshell. Other cool things that we have in here. We have our own little water cooler because we drink a lot of water while we're recording the podcast because we drink a lot of beer. This one's cool because it feeds water from the bottom and it's self-cleaning, and it works really well, and it was pretty cheap too. So that's pretty nice. I've got this shelving here that I just recently organized. This used to be a huge mess, but down here we've got different boxes, got a Gorilla Pod, mic stand. That's what we use for when we go mobile. Got a Chromebook in there. This bag right here is full of cables, miscellaneous cables and stuff. Those boxes there, one's for the Zoom H6. The other one is the box that those cheap $10 microphones come in. So it's a nice plastic box for the Rode. TP-Link stuff, that's, I think that's another switch, and yeah, it doesn't matter. These boxes, we've got 3 of them here. The box over there, that is all miscellaneous cables and whatnot. The center box is also cables and dongles and stuff like that. And then this box here is all camera lenses and camera related equipment. So it's all nice and easy and accessible. You can kind of see here, they just pull out nice and easily. Up here, more miscellaneous stuff. These are my Bose case for the QC35-2s. These are some Beats headphones that I never use because they're uncomfortable. Case for Nintendo Switch, microfiber cloth, a light back there for if I need a spotlight for anything. Glassware gets kept up here also. That's pretty nice. Random Apple boxes. And then up here, we've got other randomness. We got some whiskey from Seven Stills that they did with Almanac Brewing Company or Almanac Beer Company. Cheap Beer Corner koozie. I used to have a 55 Ford. That's what that is. And then miscellaneous Amiibos and Funko Pop toys, which for some reason I've recently gotten into because I think they're fun. And yeah. So that's pretty much it. I mean, ooh, this camera's getting wonky. Yeah, that's the top of the road case for the whole box situation over here. That's the covers for that. So that's pretty much everything going on in the studio. So that's pretty much everything that's going on in the studio. I could get in deeper and more detail with so many other things that are going on in here, but right now the video is kind of long as it is. But I think what's cool about my studio is that, yeah, it takes money to buy the stuff that you need. Like microphones are expensive, monitors are expensive, computers are expensive. But like I said, it's stuff that I've acquired over the years and I just hang on to and I take care of my stuff. And just because it's old doesn't mean you can't upgrade it like computers. You can't, you know, you can upgrade computers and still get performance out of them. You're not gonna have like a gaming PC, but I don't need a gaming PC. I need something that's gonna fit my needs, suit my needs, and get the job done. And that's what I've created in my studio. I've kind of pieced it together bit by bit over the years, and I'm really happy with it. So if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up in the comments. Like, I've been doing this for 10 years now, and like I said, it's all about taking care of your stuff and adapting to what you're doing. So thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you next time.